The wine industry is flexing new muscle as a warming climate opens new wine regions for business and provincial laws pave the way for interprovincial wine trade. At the same time, traditional regions are facing new challenges as the fall harvest is just around the corner. Natalie Maclean is a wine writer and publisher of the wine review website, nataliemaclean.com. Great to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Amanda.
I want to start with the effect of global warming on opening up new regions. What kind of, how broad is that going to be? What sort of an impact on the industry you think that might have?
It could be pretty broad according to some predictions. It depends on which predictions you believe, but some people are thinking that even areas like Yellowstone Park in the United States, more production in Brazil, China, and so on, even Scotland, the north of Scotland, I'd love to see Domaine Maclean, are going to open up because with climate change, the grapes are going to be able to ripen at more northern latitudes, and that's going to provide for more new and different regions.
Natalie, isn't it true, right, in Canada and places like BC and certainly Ontario? I go back 20 years, I remember Labrusca grapes in Ontario. You drink the wine made here, you went blind. Now we have some of the best Cabernet Franc in the world as a result of global warming. We should be very happy about this development, should we not?
Yes and no. So in traditional cool climate regions like Canada and Germany that used to have problems ripening grapes, especially late ripening grapes like Cabernet Franc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and so on, now they're getting consistent ripening, which is the good news story. But these cool climates were also known for zesty, zippy whites like Riesling, even Sauvignon Blanc. And what's happening as the climate warms, those whites are losing their edge. So you know, this is affecting not only the introduction of new regions, but existing regions are changing, including cool climates like Canada's.
It's interesting, long-time viewers, Natalie, certainly you will remember that that Kevin once told you that you couldn't get a decent Cabernet for under $70, and now he sells one.
Yes,
so
full circle.
Interesting how things change. But let's talk about the trade of wine across the provinces, because one of the things that, I mean, Kevin's right, there was a time when the reputation of Canadian wines was very poor. Partly because the industry was very young. So I want to start with what regions you think now are really the most promising in this country.
You know, across the country, there's so much potential. Even in the traditional producing areas of Niagara and the Okanagan, we have such a range of styles. But the other thing that's happened is that we're learning better what grapes work in our soils. But with this climate change, we're seeing the emergence of new regions like Prince Edward County, which is about a 3-hour drive north of Niagara. Their winters were traditionally very cold. Today they have 30 wineries there. If you look down to Nova Scotia, they traditionally did German hybrids, cool climate grapes. Now they're specializing in varietals like Chardonnay and so on. So you're seeing this change happening in regions across the country and going more north as well in our own traditional region here in Ontario.
Natalie, do you think there'll ever be a time when a Canadian wine gets international respect? Because when I travel abroad, rarely do I see Canadian wines stocked in retailers in other countries, even in the United States. You know, there's an old joke. It's about a wedding in France, and the man sings, "The champagne was Canadian," which was, you know, funny, a funny line. Are we ever going to get respect, or are we the Rodney Dangerfield of wine forever?
We have respect. The problem is volume. So in international competitions, we win gold head to head with the world's best. So the quality is there already. There's no Dangerfield issue when it comes to quality. What it is a volume issue. And that we don't export a whole lot of wine. We can't fill the channels of the United States in you know, their big distribution. But in wine, as you know, Kevin, small is good. It's artisanal. You know, and I think that's what we should be embracing as Canadians. I'm not, you know, a spokesperson for the Canadian wine industry, but I do think we should be giving our own wines a chance. And especially this weekend, it's a time to, you know, to taste the fruits of our labor.
Of course, I'd love to give our wines a chance. If you live in one province, it's very hard sometimes to drink the wine from another province. There's several different stumbling blocks. One is just weird interprovincial trade barriers, and the other one, of course, is our liquor control boards. Are we ever going to live in a world where we can actually drink wine from BC freely if we live in Nova Scotia?
I think it's coming. You know, the laws that govern this at a federal level went back to Prohibition, 1928. those have been abolished. What's happening now is provincial barriers, especially in Ontario and Quebec. So BC, Alberta, Manitoba, Nova Scotia have pretty much opened the borders for shipping, but Ontario and Quebec remain. But you know what? It's inevitable. I think, the free market will benefit everybody. I mean, I'm pro free market, more choice, because what BC produces is a completely different style from Niagara and then again in Nova Scotia. And that's the beauty of wine, is diversity. So let everybody have a sampling of everything.
Now, Natalie, sometimes we have you on and actually ask you about specific wines. I'm going to put you on the spot and say, is there one in particular right now that you're recommending?
Oh, my goodness. It's the one somebody else would be buying me tonight. But, if I look, I mean, we have so many flagship wines across the country. Burrowing Owl in BC, Painted Rock. These are the premium wines. But, Le Clos Jourdain in Ontario, Luckett Vineyard and Domaine de Grand Pré in Nova Scotia. There's just such a constellation of stars across our country. We really should be giving them a shot.
All right. We appreciate your time today, Natalie. Have a great weekend.
All right. You too. Thank you, Amanda.
Natalie Maclean, wine writer and publisher of wine review website, nataliemaclean.com.